taking a licking for its finger-licking good chicken shaped like a rat?
Very hard in reverie.
It is a humiliating sight for one of the country's biggest food brands. In city after city, a second day of shuttered stores running short of their vital ingredient.
If you've ever taken a bite of KFC's famous fried chicken and thought this can't be natural, you might be onto something. In multiple countries, health inspectors have uncovered KFC meals crawling with maggots, made with meat stored at unsafe temperatures, or worse, served to customers well past expiration dates. In one case, a woman bit into her drumstick only to find it oozing with green pus. Keep watching, because what you're about to find out about the world's most iconic fried chicken chain might make you rethink everything you thought you knew about fast food. For decades, KFC has leaned hard into its biggest selling point, the 11 herbs and spices that make its fried chicken taste unlike anything else. Wrapped in secrecy, whispered about in marketing campaigns, and even kept in a literal vault, the so-called secret recipe became legend. But here's the thing, when you strip away the branding, that magical seasoning mix isn't as mysterious or wholesome as they want you to believe. In 2016, the Chicago Tribune claimed to have uncovered the real recipe, handwritten in a family scrapbook by Colonel Sanders' nephew. And guess what? It wasn't revolutionary, just a basic blend of common spices like paprika, garlic salt, and dried mustard. But the bigger shock isn't what's in the spice rack, it's what else is coating that chicken. KFC's fried chicken is brined and injected with chemical preservatives, flavor enhancers like MSG, and moisture-retaining additives that help it stay juicy even after hours under a heat lamp. These aren't little kitchen tricks, they're industrial solutions designed to make meat taste fresh even when it's not. One former supplier claimed some chicken sat in storage for weeks before ever reaching a fryer. KFC also uses a pressure frying method that locks in grease under high pressure, giving it that crispy finish, but also loading every bite with artery clogging fat. A typical 3-piece meal can have over 1,200 calories and 80 grams of fat, nearly a full day's worth for the average adult. So sure, the seasoning might be secret, but the real secret is what they don't tell you. The chemicals, the sodium, the manufacturing shortcuts. And if you think the chicken is questionable, just wait until you hear where it actually comes from, because the next section takes us deep inside the world of factory farms, disturbing practices, and a decades-old urban legend that might not be as fake as you think. For years, an eerie urban legend has followed KFC like a shadow. Whispers that the company doesn't use real chickens, but genetically engineered creatures with no feathers, no beaks, and extra limbs raised in labs for maximum meat yield. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but what if the truth is even worse? While there's no evidence of mutant chickens, what we do know about KFC's real suppliers is deeply unsettling. In multiple investigations, including exposés by PETA and undercover reporters, KFC's chicken providers have been caught on camera committing shocking acts of cruelty. Workers stomping on birds, slamming them against walls, or mutilating them with dull blades while still alive. And that's just the beginning. These chickens are bred to grow at an unnatural pace, reaching slaughter weight in as little as 6 weeks. That's like raising a human baby to full adult size in just a few months. The result? Deformed birds with bones that can't support their own weight, hearts that fail under the stress, and lives lived entirely indoors in crowded, dark sheds. One supplier facility reportedly held over 20,000 chickens in a single warehouse with barely enough space to spread their wings. KFC claims they're committed to animal welfare, but critics argue that those claims are mostly for show, public relations statements that look good in press releases but don't match what's really happening on the ground. And here's the kicker. In some countries, KFC was caught sourcing meat from suppliers that had failed multiple health inspections, including contaminated water usage and unsanitary slaughter conditions. So the next time you bite into a drumstick, ask yourself, where did it come from? And what was that animal's life actually like? Because if you think these sourcing scandals are limited to chicken, you haven't seen what's happening on KFC's global stage, where even more disturbing incidents have unfolded. When you think of KFC, you probably imagine it as a consistent global brand. Same red bucket, same crispy chicken, no matter where you are. But behind the international expansion lies a trail of shocking disasters that KFC would rather you forget. In China, the chain faced a massive backlash after it was revealed that one of its poultry suppliers was pumping birds full of excessive antibiotics and growth hormones, far beyond legal limits. The government launched an investigation, sales plummeted, and KFC was forced to admit that it had lost control over parts of its supply chain. That wasn't the only scandal. In 2014, a Shanghai television station aired undercover footage showing expired meat being repackaged and sold to KFC outlets. Workers were filmed picking meat up off the dirty floor and throwing it back into processing machines. The footage spread like wildfire. KFC's parent company, Yum Brands, saw its stock take a hit, and Chinese consumers lost trust almost overnight. In India, the nightmare continued. A family in Kerala claimed their daughter nearly swallowed a live worm found wriggling inside a piece of fried chicken. The story made national headlines. In another Indian city, inspectors found dozens of expired and improperly stored ingredients inside a local KFC kitchen. One container of raw chicken was reportedly stored next to mop water, a shocking breach of food safety. These weren't isolated incidents. Across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, health inspectors and consumer watchdogs have documented violations ranging from unsafe oil reuse to rodent infestations inside kitchens. Yet somehow, KFC keeps bouncing back. How? By flooding local markets with ad campaigns, discount buckets, and aggressive expansion plans, counting on people to forget what happened last year or even last week. But while KFC scrambles to fix its international image, problems back home in the US are boiling over. And it's not just about the chicken, because if you really want to understand how KFC operates, you need to hear from the people behind the counter. Behind every crispy bucket and every finger-licking good slogan are workers pulling 10-hour shifts in steaming hot kitchens for barely more than minimum wage. And if you ask them what it's really like to work at KFC, most won't describe it as fast food. They'll call it fast survival. One former employee in Arizona said she regularly worked through her breaks, flipping chicken over boiling oil, while managers pressured her to serve food that hadn't reached a safe internal temperature. She said, "We knew it wasn't cooked all the way, but the line was too long and we couldn't slow down." Burns from splashing grease are common. In some older KFC locations, employees report broken fryers, poor ventilation, and walk-in coolers that either don't close properly or trap workers inside. A 17-year-old in Florida suffered second-degree burns after slipping on a greasy floor. There were no warning signs and no safety mats. And those lawsuits are stacking up. In multiple states, former workers have filed complaints over wage theft, claiming they were forced to clock out while continuing to clean up, close registers, and prep for the next day. Others describe working while sick because calling out might mean losing hours or their job entirely. And these aren't just bad jobs. In many cases, they're unsafe environments disguised as entry-level work. And while customers might walk in expecting a quick meal, the people behind the counter are often dealing with injuries, burnout, and fear. But if the food has problems and the workers are suffering, you'd think the sides would be the safe choice, right? Think again, because what's hiding in that mashed potato bowl might be more artificial than you ever imagined. When you think about KFC, the spotlight is usually on the chicken, but what about those iconic sides? The mashed potatoes, the gravy, the mac and cheese. They seem harmless enough, right? Comfort food at its finest. But behind that creamy texture and golden glow lies a chemical cocktail you won't see on the menu board. Let's start with the mashed potatoes. You're not getting freshly peeled spuds boiled in store. KFC's mashed potatoes are made from instant potato flakes, dehydrated and preserved with additives like sodium bisulfite to extend shelf life. Then they're whipped into a paste with powdered milk and margarine substitutes. Ingredients designed for cost efficiency, not taste or nutrition. The gravy? That warm, salty drizzle poured over everything? It's not slow simmered from pan drippings. According to former employees, it comes frozen in bags and is made from a base often referred to as meat sludge. A mix of thickening agents, artificial flavors, and hydrolyzed proteins. One viral TikTok showed a worker squeezing the gravy packet into a plastic tub like toothpaste, then microwaving it until it bubbled over. Coleslaw, which seems like the fresh option, contains over a dozen ingredients, including high fructose corn syrup and calcium disodium EDTA, a preservative that keeps cabbage looking even after it's been chopped for days. And don't even ask about the mac and cheese. More than one employee has admitted the sauce comes from a bright yellow powder mixed with boiling water, not melted cheese. So while these sides might look homemade, they're more lab-made than anything. And what's worse, KFC has quietly adjusted some of their recipes over the years to reduce cost, not improve quality, often adding even more sodium, preservatives, and artificial thickeners to maintain texture in reheated batches. But even with this level of artificiality, the brand's image remains spotless. Why? Because the Colonel's face is still smiling on every box. But who exactly was Colonel Sanders, and what parts of his legacy have been carefully scrubbed away? Most people recognize the white suit, the bolo tie, and the kindly face of Colonel Harlan Sanders as the grandfather of fast food charm. But the real man behind the KFC brand was far more complicated, and at times, deeply problematic. Before he became a global icon, Sanders bounced between odd jobs: steam engine stoker, insurance salesman, even a gas station owner. And it was in that gas station in Corbin, Kentucky, where he started frying chicken for travelers. But his rise to fame wasn't built solely on cooking skills. Sanders was infamous for his fiery personality. He once got into a shootout with a competitor over signage placement, leaving one man dead. In another instance, he physically assaulted a rival gas station operator in front of customers. His biographers describe him as volatile, aggressive, and unfiltered, and when it came to speaking his mind, he had no filter, especially regarding race. Multiple interviews and letters reveal Sanders making blatantly racist remarks, some of which were written off at the time as just how people talked. Even after selling the company in the 1960s, Sanders remained the brand's spokesperson, but behind the scenes, he hated what KFC became. He called the food slop, slammed franchisees for cutting corners, and once told a reporter the gravy tastes like wallpaper paste. The very man whose image sells the food wouldn't eat it himself. Yet despite all this, KFC continued to sanitize his legacy, turning a flawed, combative man into a lovable mascot. The myth of the Colonel became more valuable than the truth. And that raises a bigger question. If the company could rewrite its founder's history this cleanly, what else are they rewriting? KFC has spent billions over the years refining its image. Crispy chicken, smiling families, nostalgic Americana. But behind that glossy advertising is a trail of lawsuits and public scandals that tell a much uglier story. In 2013, a family in Australia sued KFC for more than $8 million after their daughter suffered brain damage from a salmonella infection allegedly caused by a contaminated chicken twister wrap. The case dragged on for years, with horrifying testimony that described the girl's long-term disabilities and the family's destroyed finances. That was just one case. Across the US, customers have found raw chicken, plastic shards, and even deep-fried paper towels in their meals. One woman in California posted a viral video showing her fried chicken piece still pink and bleeding inside. KFC's official response: an apology and a free coupon. No investigation, no recall, just a vague promise to do better. Then there are the advertising scandals. In the UK, KFC once ran a tone-deaf campaign showing people licking their fingers during the peak of a flu outbreak. The backlash was swift. Another PR disaster hit during a chicken shortage in Britain, when KFC outlets ran out of chicken entirely. The company issued a sarcastic ad rearranging its name to FCK, which some found funny but others saw as flippant. Internally, employees have sued for racial discrimination, sexual harassment, and unsafe working conditions. Claims that KFC often settles quietly without admitting guilt. The strategy is clear: silence the mess with money and spin the rest with marketing. But how many disasters can a brand survive before the public finally stops believing the bucket? After everything, rat footage, factory farms, lawsuits, tainted meals, KFC remains one of the most recognizable fast food chains in the world. So why do people keep going back? For millions, it comes down to comfort. That red and white bucket doesn't just hold chicken, it holds memories, birthday parties, Friday dinners, road trips with greasy napkins and crispy drumsticks. It's nostalgia on a tray, and that's powerful, because when people are stressed, tired, or short on time and cash, they don't crave clean supply chains. They crave something familiar. For many low-income communities, KFC isn't just a choice. It's one of the only affordable options around. In food deserts across the US, you won't find a Whole Foods or a farmer's market, but you will find a KFC, offering a $5 fill-up that's hot, filling, and fast. In places where time is short and every dollar counts, that kind of convenience becomes survival. Then there's marketing. KFC's ad campaigns are brilliantly designed to keep you thinking about flavor, family, and fun. Never factory farming or legal disputes. By rotating celebrity kernels, pop culture references, and meme-worthy stunts, KFC stays fresh in your mind, even if its kitchens aren't. The system is designed to make unhealthy food more accessible than honest food, and KFC thrives in that gap between what people need and what they deserve. If this deep dive into KFC's dark side has surprised you, or even made you rethink that next bucket of chicken, hit that like button and subscribe. Every click helps us shed light on the truth behind some of the world's biggest brands. Have you ever had a bad experience at KFC? Or maybe you're thinking twice about your next meal there? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you. Your story could be the one that helps others see through the shiny advertisements and realize the real cost of convenience. So what's the takeaway? KFC isn't just serving chicken, it's serving a carefully packaged delusion, one where smiling kernels and crispy buckets distract from the reality of chemical-laced food, suffering workers, and a legacy built on controversy and shortcuts. Behind every bite is a supply chain filled with exploitation, a kitchen that may cut corners, and a brand that's become a master of distraction. We've seen the factory farms, the lawsuits, the overseas disasters, and the stories from real employees risking burns, injuries, and exhaustion just to keep the deep fryer running. But now you know, you've seen the cracks in the story, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So the next time you smell that unmistakable fried scent, ask yourself, is it really worth it? Because the truth is, not every recipe deserves to be kept secret, and not every tradition deserves to survive just because it's been around for decades. Trust your instincts, question the branding, and remember, just because something's wrapped in nostalgia doesn't mean it's safe to swallow.